Hello friends, starting soon an unmissable live coverage here on Sailor Today TV. You are watching Sailor Today TV, your unmissable dose of vitamin C.
Hello, can you hear me? There's no audio.
Good evening, Captain
Hello, friends.
Treasury
Starting
belated
soon, an
happy
unmissable
lecture meeting. In this 45 minutes or 50 minutes lecture, we hope to learn a few important requirements with respect to Sire 2 and a fine distinguished on ISM. I will now invite Captain Pradhan to come forward and address everyone. Thank you, sir.
Where is this thing?
No, you just talk, sir. Just talk. The camera is there. You can look at the camera there and talk. Then you look at people. There. Yes. Good.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. We all have gathered here today. You can see the audience here, and I would expect that we have more people attending the meeting physically than attending on Zoom, because now the COVID is over. Things have eased off. We would like to have personal meeting with each other, like when we are going to interact with all you guys in time to come. And of course, those who are located at a distance, people who are attending from outside Mumbai, or people who are not able to travel for whatever reason, that is the reason we are having this hybrid meeting. That's the reason we are having, online as well as physical. So with that, I would like to invite our two speakers. Captain SUBHEDAR, please come forward, sir.
Yeah.
Request Captain Sashimkumar to introduce him, please.
So, before we do that, I would, to respect the bandwidth, I request all of you to switch off your audio. And to make sure that we are helping you at the best on this lecture today, we have a chat box to collect the questions. So without any further ado, let me introduce you to the industry stalwarts who will talk about Sire and ISM norms. To begin with, Captain SUDHIR SUBHEDAR. Captain SUDHIR SUBHEDAR, Fellow of CMMI, former Warden, President of Pune Chapter, ex-Dufferin Cadet 1966. Office Master Superintendent of SCI, Anglo-Eastern, former Director INSA, Ocean Sparkle Group of Companies, President and CEO of ICSA, Technical Officer at IMO, MGGA UK, Exam, BSc Tech London, Sir John School of Science and Technology, member of IQA, MRINA, IFSMA, Tolani Academic Council. I will also introduce the next speaker, and then after that, Captain Sudhir SUBHEDAR will take over. Captain Girish hails from Monaco. I think he's come all the way here for this.
To see you.
Okay. Ex-SCI cadet. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Expert tanker business, founder, promoter of Starboard Advisor Monaco, recognized Sire inspector, sought after trainer globally. His clients include TK, BP, V-Ship, and Shell. So
Welcome.
I will now welcome, sir. Now I'll invite Captain Sudhir SUBHEDAR to take over the first session. Come, put that slide. Yeah, put on rolling, is it? Sir, you try to move there. Use that. What's up? You can talk.
Thank you, Kaustav. While my fellow colleague was in India about this time, I offered to do this program on ISM and Sire 2 nuances. I don't think any one of us is going to go through the structure and history and process and all that. My idea is to little bit distinguish between Sire and ISM. I had the opportunity during my tenure in United Kingdom to be involved with ISM development right from the beginning. As the first line says, the trigger of the ISM was the same out of which has grown this human element term. The human element term came from International Association of Insurers, where they found between 1988 and 1991, 80% of the accidents were making identifiable losses due to human error. One of the main things that happened between my days of sailing, 30 years before 89, and ISM coming, was the idea of third-party management. And this is again being reflected even now, that ship-owning companies seem to be doing better than the ship management companies as far as the safety culture. There are exceptions to the rule, but by and large, one would say, or at least I would say, that there is no equivalent of ISM in civil aviation. People would say that comparing merchant navy and civil aviation is a bad idea. But one must make comparisons. It goes way back to the core of fundamental things about safety culture and how the ships and aircrafts operate.
Yes, sir.
ISM came about, the first document ISM on which me and my team and my colleague here from ICS is here in those days. BS 5750 was the first document that was put on our table. But many ship owners, operators, managers couldn't live with BS 5750, and 30 years down the line, each one of them is living with the ISO 9000. Then late Derek Underwood of the norms then headed a committee of third-party managers and came out with an ISMA code. A mixture of something else, something like R.D. Kohli's days of circulars, something like other companies' good practices, and I won't say hodgepodge, but they put together something. Again, the ship owners and operators could not live with the ISMA code. So it was tasked by MSc quite hurriedly. The idea of an ISM code first draft. So which took on board 5750, it took on ISMA, it took on all kinds of good practices of RDK days and so many other things. The meetings used to be held sometimes in ICS, sometimes in ITF, sometimes in what used to be called Survey Generals Organization in United Kingdom, and the IMO building itself. The purpose of the ISM code, which the United States did not like in the first place, they opposed it because even now, like OPA 90, United States believes that it is owner's responsibility. Safety, security, pollution prevention, United States is never on board, rest of the world, they have to be brought on board later on. But they are always opposed because they've got one fundamental issue, is that all this responsibility belongs to the owner. They don't want to understand the definition of company, definition of operator. So if it is owner's responsibility, then third-party managers would have a big issue. So they almost vetoed ISM code being adopted under SOLAS Chapter 9. They went along, and I am privy and to the rigmarole that was happening. They vetoed, which doesn't happen very frequently. They went away and they wanted the code to remain a cross-reference in the SOLAS. After a lot of effort by the Secretariat at that time, SOLAS Chapter 9 came into being. But that gave a mandate for a piece of document that had to come. At the end of the day, the code describes, next piece. At the end of the day, code describes a general broad framework. This idea of a broad framework did not get translated of the 1990s managers where we are sitting here, and all of us have been gone through, and maybe some of you were perhaps not around take the helm at that time. But this idea that ISM code is a broad framework of guidelines. The mandate came from SOLAS. तो इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? वो गाइडलाइन बनाते बनाते मेरे जैसे, आप जैसे, गिरीश जैसे 2-4-10 लोगों ने इसको एकदम एक पेपर का टाइगर बना दिया. It should not have it was never envisaged in the subcommittee meetings. It was supposed to have been a bonding glue to bring everything together in one shot. Otherwise, we were already doing safety equipment, we were doing solar LSA, we were doing SFA, we were doing safety construction, we were doing class, we were doing ISM. ऐसा क्या करने वाला था? तो एक साथ लाने की कोशिश करने की जो एक इच्छा थी, वो ISM के मैनुअल्स, ISM के SOPs ने उसको धीरे धीरे करके खोज लिया. The result is, as of today, ISM for last 30 years is only 40%. And one of our ex-colleagues, Ajay Chatterjee, who wrote this book, Cracking the Code, half of this book is statistics. Within 10 or 12 years, he has given so much of statistics of why ISM failed and continues to fail now. Example is container fires. Example is no improvement in entry into enclosed spaces. Not much improvement in live boat accidents. And so on and so forth. While this was all going on, in 1993, OCIMF, which is the only organization which controls or has a big say in what the 5 oil majors oil goes about. There is no other cargo of any kind. No bulk cargo, no Cargill, no wheat importer, exporter, no Sale Authority of India has a control on cargo like OCIMF and the 5 oil majors. Oil goes from A to B. At the end of the day, it is one of those 5 oil majors involved. And the 5 oil majors have a simple idea. They don't want publicity for good or bad. They don't want their ships to be mentioned. They don't want their things to be mentioned. Their ISM of the oil majors ships is quite different from anybody else's ISM. During my tenure, though not OCIMF, I worked in few years, 3 years during my extras and graduation in 76, 77. Summer holidays, I used to work to find bread and butter with a shipping company which belonged to Unilever, Lever Brothers. They're the same thing. It was way before ISM code. तो उनका काम करने का तरीका ही सेकंड नेचर का था. चेकलिस्ट जैसी कोई बात नहीं थी. Handful of people work for such companies and learned like we did in SCI as well and in Hong Kong as well, in Anglo-Eastern. But by and large, the manuals, the procedures, the checklists completely miss the point that one needs to be trained rather than have checklist. हॉट वर्क का नाम लेने के साथ पीला कपड़ा खड़ा हो जाना चाहिए. परमिट ला. You ask anybody for hot work, first thing is that yellow flag must come up. बंकरिंग करना है, लाल बावटा ऊपर. अपने आप हो जाना चाहिए. अपने आप होता था. सुखानी को बताने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती. Today there is a checklist for that. Bunkering checklist. Pilot ladder. Other day we saw some posts that was going on. What a terrible pilot ladder in a SCI ship. "33 years after I said." Coming back to Sire 1993, Sire 1, the main difference was you can have all the certificates. If you don't have Sire 1 certificate, no cargo. ऐसा ISM is a mandated certificate, पर उसका इतना force नहीं जितना safety construction का force है. You don't have a safety construction expired in Vizag, which I had on Motilal Nehru, I could not say it. Or the next day was 2nd October. If the ISM mandate had become the way Sire 2 is going to become, then there would not have been need for multiple audits and multiple inspections, which is a burden on the crew, I would imagine. It adds to stress, it adds to so many other problems. 5-6 statutory certificate, 2-3 class certificate, अब CAP 1, CAP 2 दुनिया भर का आ गया, उसके बाद Sire भी आ गया, आ रहा है. So Sire 2 is almost like ISM, but in Sire 2, we'll hear from Mr. GIRISH, LELE, that they're going to go into ifs, buts, and whys of that, which is what I would say. Other day, he mentioned on the briefing of MSc last, there is now debate whether ISM should be revisited. I personally feel in my last slide that ISM needs to be revisited, but perhaps I am in the minority, but there needs to be bridging between ISM and Sire. What Sire has done is brought all these things together and is going to, Sire 2 is going to ask how. Having said that, I know Mr. Girish LELE has inspects brand new vessel, he inspects 30-year-old barge, and I've seen him do that in France. He inspects gas, he inspects gas oil, he inspects everything petroleum. And quickly changes his hat from an old barge, old vessel, gasoline to gas to petroleum. That pragmatism never came. ISM on ocean sparkle tug, ISM in SCI, ISM elsewhere, that auditor, I would say, with a little apology, that not sufficient auditor training has gone, just like we are not training the seafarers and future officers for the systematic approach to safety. Mr. O'Neill at that time had mentioned that there is no alternative but to manage safety. He said it in the house of the IMO that one has to manage safety, it is not by chance. रेलवे में भी लिखा रहता है सावधानी हटी दुर्घटना घटी. Exactly the same thing happens in ISM. सावधानी हटी दुर्घटना घटी. Danger has to be foreseen, and therefore 20 years later 2 to 3 more terms came in. This assessment became a big issue in ISM. It was not there in the original draft. Situational awareness. These 2 items came 20 years later after the original code. Subconsciously, we do all the time. Why should I be there to prove to Captain Pradhan whether I have done it or not? It must happen to him automatically. It must happen to me automatically. Sire 2 is going to force us to do that automatically, not to show anybody. उनके पास एक कैरेट है, एक गंडा है, तुमको नहीं करना है मत करो, कार्गो नहीं देंगे. तो मेरा ऐसा विचार है ISM को भी ऐसा दर्जा दिया जाए that no ISM you can't say. Next. This is just a flow chart, shows 2 beautiful people there. The rest is a flow chart showing interaction between input, output, and objectivity. Objectivity is the key. Successful ISM, gentlemen and managers sitting here, objectivity is the key. If you have no objectivity, no point in having that ISM. From objectivity in writing to objectivity in delivery to objective evidence. Record भरना इतना गंदा शब्द है. I can use some good words, but I'm not using them. And yet, incident reporting, which is part of communication, I would say, is not taken so seriously. Next. Higher officers of the rank of brigadier and above, and in civil aviation, all the pilots. We don't come to know, but they are already attend, thou shall be briefed, thou shall be debriefed. They carry a small chopri, brigadiers and above, and pilots, just to give you an example. All civil aviation, whether Timbuktu pilot or America pilot. What every incident they have, if there is no incident in each chopri, he is considered something is wrong. You can imagine if you're going and flying from Bombay to Delhi with 364 passengers, and you arrive and depart day in, day out without incident, the authority is not willing to take it on face value. In INSA, we tried to bring all Indian ship owners on board to make analysis of incident reports of their companies. There was opposition. Only Mr. Ian Bose of Great Eastern agreed to do some analysis of that, but only shared with the technical committee of INSA. This lack of transparency in ISM also is a cause for ISM failure. Here, Girish will tell us that Sire 2 is going to force you to learn from the mistake, because they have brought in observations and recommendations, good to do and not good not to do. In good old days of United Kingdom, way before my time also, they used to, and I think they still have, because they've now gone through the change of autonomous agency, etc. तो उनके पास एक चीज दो चीजें होती थी, एक पिंक स्लिप, एक ऑरेंज स्लिप. Improvement notice and prohibitory notice. Every master, every chief engineer, every superintendent, every surveyor, the government surveyor, had the option of using it to full extent whenever they wanted. So, हम आगे पीछे चल रहे हैं, you didn't like something, stick a bloody improvement notice. You notice something bad, stick a prohibitory notice. So it already had a self-correcting mechanism. We tried to bring it in ISM, but it didn't go through. We borrowed it from United Kingdom of those days. So forward thinking and trying to learn from the bad practice is what it is all about. Back. Now, these two things, one is total quality management, which is just an umbrella under which comes everything can come under it. There was no need if everybody, but because ISO is a voluntary and there is no IMO or ICAO or any other, you can see that for ISO 9000, there is no regulation. TQM, there is no regulation. And no country in the world is going to adopt TQM ISO 9000 per se. At best, it is run by industry associations, industry corporations, Department of Industry, some NGO, but ISO 9000, there is no act of parliament. ISM could not go down that road, but it had to borrow lots of things since then. Values of TQM. And if you recall, gentlemen, Code of Safe Working Practices, I would say, was the Bible in my days, for sure. Code of Safe Working Practices, this kind of chart was there, God knows, 50 years ago now. To minimize the risk as low as possible. And be in the, if possible, be only in the yellow one, if at all. Otherwise, always, because everything can't be mitigated. So 100% safety also is not a is impractical idea. Don't take away the ship only. I mean, I'll sit in Indira docks. So therefore, the systematic approach must include business-centric, and therefore that's where total quality management comes. Because it emphasizes this. Business cannot be forgotten. Next. I mostly talked about all that. My advice to managers, students, sailing seafarers would be, besides objectivity, to bring in the functional requirement approach to safety, which is what was done simultaneously. Immediately, I said STW 95 took on board this idea of functional approach. सबको सब चीज करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Identify the functions, identify the risks, mitigate those risks, and because there is a code and those clauses, etc., address those 13-14 clauses. उसमें 13-14 सर्टिफिकेशन वाला क्लॉज है. 10-15 पन्ने में अच्छा सा ISM बन सकता है. If there is objectivity, if there is continuity, if there is goals of ISM, which is continual improvement, business centric, safety culture, तो ये only उसमें लिखने से नहीं होगा. चेकलिस्ट कम करने के लिए उस बंदे को उतना ट्रेनिंग देना पड़ेगा कि रात को 12 बजे भी उसको उठाएंगे पायलट लैडर रिग करने के लिए. He will rig it the way it is to be done today, tomorrow, every time. On Deshbandhu, I remember the moment I mean, Deshbandhu kind of vessel, you would open manuals every. Open manual every now and again. But I was made and I was trained, and I'm proud to say that before I told anybody to open the manual, give him the round spanner, there would be checks and balances before he even starts opening nuts and bolts of a manual. It must become second nature, and you will find the checklist idea will go out of fashion. Why there is checklist, there is inspection list. There is no checklist in civil aviation. Those guys we see when we are boarding, they're doing inspection checks. They're not doing systems checks, because systems checks, everything is automatic. Now there are differences. We are 90% carriage, blah blah blah, in standardization. So it was again the three package: STC 95, ISM, and Paris MOU. Next. Auditors and inspectors must also, like again repeating, must be pragmatic. Look at VLCC in another way and look at coastal shipping in another way. Age norm has nothing to do with ISM. There's a huge debate going on just now about the age norms. तो मेरे जैसे बुड्ढे ने, आज मैं बुड्ढा नहीं हूँ, तो मेरे जैसे बुड्ढे को आप चुप नहीं बिठा सकते हैं, चाहे जो कर लें. सीधा बोलने का मेरा अधिकार है, मैं बोलता रहूंगा. Similar in gas, and you also take care of gas VLCC, wearing a different hat, different approach. That's very important. ISM is to succeed the way Sire is going to succeeds because of the cargo matter. Pragmatism will make ISM succeed. तो छोटे से कोस्टल शिप के ऊपर वैसा ही ISM करने लगेंगे तो वो तो चोरी चपाटी करेगा ना, खाली आपको दिखाना तो है करके. I've seen cases where उधर का एबीसी पाउडर सर्वे आने के पहले उधर से आ जाता है इधर. क्या फायदा हुआ? होस्टल शिप है, मेरा बंदे का मुलुन में जहाज है, वो थाने में जहाज है, उसका आसपास हो गया सब लेन देन। फायर गया भाड़ में साला। अपना ऑडिटर ऐसे ही आता है, इंटरनल ऑडिट भी ऐसे ही आता है, हांगकांग से आता है, बड़ा बड़ा $10,000 खर्चा करके। आईबी में भी एक आरएसपी बनाया, उसमें भी आईएसएम डाल दिया। वो तो पोजीशन लेने के लायक नहीं है आदमी, अब उसको आईएसएम क्या सिखाओगे उसको? दैट आईएसएम pragmatically should be owner operate. Idea is okay, but make owner operator do that ISM mostly. Not that IB master and NCB master. धनाधन भर रहे हैं रिकॉर्ड, ISM हो गया, ISM हो गया। नेक्स्ट, third important item of the third or fourth important item of the ISM was, one was that safety is to be managed, and therefore one of the important aspects of the ISM was to be contingency and emergency preparedness. Double watch keeping, double master. If the situation demands, there should be double master. Then don't look for extra money or save that money. कई लोग आप लोगों ने एक्सपीरियंस किया होगा, अच्छी अच्छी कंपनियां सेकेंड लुकआउट देने के लिए ओटी बढ़ जाएगा। क्या बात है, आईएसएम जहाज में ओटी बढ़ जाएगा। So this needs to be one nuance that needs to be demolished. It's a top-down approach. Company, commitment, and communication. Next. Without top-down approach, with authority and responsibility and resources, ISM or Sire cannot work. Master's authority is ultimate. It did not have to be spelled out because it was already there in the Merchant Shipping Act. ISM brought it on board, and yet it mostly does not function. He's made a scapegoat. He's not given authority, he's not given responsibility, and almost no resources. How many of you can say that you consider yourself as part of the top management of a shipping company's board? Very few. Yes.
Yes, that's very much true what you say. I worked for very long in Mobile Exxon. We had that.
Mobile Exxon. बात ही खत्म हो गया, आपने तो अपने
And I worked
पत्ते खोल दिए।
with another best company in India, in the world, I will say, Shipping Corporation of India. But those days we had different management, different groups. Today people sitting there, let it be safety or whatsoever, but in mobile, yes. And there our manual, just for these days, here ISM manual have about 13 or 14 big books. In mobile, only one book. That will say white or black, yes or no. Here you go in circles and circles. I don't know if all the masters and chief engineers are reading those manuals. There are 13 or 14 manuals on Indian
Thanks, sir. You have almost corroborated everything. What I said. Very few, if at all, other than even Exxon, hardly master is even introduced to the board. Very few, very few. But the master has to take the authority himself. He must go by example to say that I am top management. उसके दिमाग में घुसना चाहिए कि I am the top management. तभी उस मास्टर अथॉरिटी का कुछ जलसा दिखेगा. वो सेंटेंस लिखने से नहीं काम बनेगा. बोध करूं या मराठी मास्टर नालायक ना हो और 4 पट्टी का रुआब होना चाहिए उसके ऊपर. छोटा कद भी होगा तो भी रुआब होना चाहिए. नहीं तो हम और ये तो कभी मास्टर बन ही नहीं सकते थे. और मेरा बहुत रुआब था SCI में. Master's authority, responsibility must come with resources. Envy ever given is a error of comedy. Right from shipyard to the accident in canal was complete error, comedy of errors. Everybody bungled. And now everything is $2-4 billion का पूरे दुनिया को चूना लगाने के बाद सब शांत है. ISM में 2-4 पन्ने और आ गए होंगे. If I was master on ever given on the largest container ship going the first voyage through Suez Canal, my approach to that whole thing would have been different. And I'm sure yours too. तो वहाँ at the end of the telex कौन पंगा लेगा करके सब लोग चुप बैठे. Next. A couple of pictures just shows fire is a danger, ISM code, risk assessment, and teamwork. One of the ISM code, one of the editions, ISM code के 7-8 edition आ चुके हैं. एक में ये था तो मैंने डाल दिया वहां पर. It is demonstrating. ISM code itself is cover picture is demonstrating that it is a teamwork. It is not one man or MR shop. It never was intended to be like that. अब तो ISO 9000 में तो MR का और DPA का नाम ही निकाल दिया. It is a joint and several responsibility is what ISO 9001:2015 says. There is no DPA, there is no MR. Which is a very good thing. Gentlemen, I have almost finished in good time. I think, and my ICS colleague could take it on board for the rest of the world owners and operators, that ISM code as written, if it is in 30 years failed 40%, there is a need to revisit the ISM code. Maybe do some bridging between Sire 2 and ISM. Yes.
So are we doing something on this, your topic? No, I feel there is a need, and then all associations should take it up.
There's only one way to,
Anyway, this is a new topic for me.
Yeah.
So just to tell you, we should get in there.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So anyway, he mentioned that MSc has invited comments on this. So at least 1-2 line paper should be going to the next MSc. If we have consensus that because there is divided house again. Everywhere thing happens. So not everybody is on board.
It is the only house which is there. They are speechless. So you should have a house where people will talk. Otherwise, it will be water for next 30 years old.
Thank you, gentlemen. I think thank you very much, sir, for the
Thank you.
excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, give me a big hand. I just want to tell.
Thank you very much.
I just want to tell those on Zoom and those sitting here, we'll take the Q&A after Captain LELE completes his presentation. Thank you. And now I invite Captain LELE here to talk about Sire. He told me that he can go on for days talking about it, but he's made it short for today. Thank you, sir.
We're going to
Please
pick and
come in.
choose. We're going to pick and choose. Good evening, gentlemen.
and thank you for having me over. Though as a CMI member, this is the first time I'm coming here. So can I just get a feel for the audience? How many of you are any active sailing seafarers here? Two active, teaching department, teaching people from one, and ship management or ship. Okay, so we have a lovely round sort of rounded audience, which is very nice because
All of them are richer than you.
that's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I have been.
But we always go in front of it.
We'll come to that. That's what SIRE 2.0 is going to change, but we'll come to that. That's exactly what it's all about. So I have been introduced, and I was sailing for almost 22 years myself. Started from SCI, but I have the added advantage that I have been on both sides of the fence. I was what do you call it? I was in the management companies where I was a operation manager, I was a quality manager, I was the director of a gas company. And then I started my own company in 2012, and I live in Europe, so I have an idea from that side of the water. And as Captain SUBHEDAR said, I inspect all sorts of ships, so oil and gas. On an average, I inspect about 50 to 60 vessels in a year. So I've been doing that since 2012, so I have inspected a few ships. In between, I got hired also by a bulk carrier company, which he didn't mention, called NL, which took the SIRE program and have created their own sort of SIRE format. And I also inspect on behalf of them. And I cannot tell you how effective that program has been on the bulk carriers. It's unbelievably effective because there they had one line extra, SIRE VIQ 7. I think most of you know so let me just go back to this. What is your background of SIRE 2.0? Let me just break it up into three. Very good, medium, poor. Very good, SIRE 2.0 understanding. Average?
Average.
Okay. Poor, okay.
Poor or average.
Right, right. So at least I get an idea what it is. Now, SIRE 2.0, the structure, or let's say the basic questions in SIRE 2.0 have not changed much from VIQ 7. It's the way the question is handled. And now, what are we trying to do with those questions has changed. One of the first line in every question in SIRE 2.0 is, were the master and officers or crew familiar? That's the one line in every core question, which didn't exist. In VIQ 7, as a SIRE inspector, we were not supposed to ask or question the competency of a seafarer. Now that barrier has been broken. On the other hand, we were also not supposed to say anything good. If it was an observation, it was an observation. So yes, no. These are called binary questions. Now those binary questions have been changed and they have been made into graduated or binary questions. And which questions are graduated are the human element question, which Captain SUBHEDAR started off on, which is all about ISM. Yeah. Where is the first one? I say 1.5. It's module 1.5. You can just put it up. I'm not going to show all of it. I just want to. Actually, before I go further, I must also make a disclaimer since, yeah. Yeah, no, but before I go further, I must make a disclaimer because as an active SIRE inspector, I'm not talking on behalf of OCIMF. I'm talking on behalf of myself. So OCIMF wants us to propagate this because they want to promote SIRE 2.0, but not officially. I'm not a mouthpiece for OCIMF, just to clarify that. Just go down this and I'll tell you where we can stop. Go down, human factors, yeah, go down. So this is actually one of the courses because I finished all my training for SIRE 2.0. I'm going to get my tablet next week, finally. It has been a struggle. I don't know if you have heard about the problems faced with the tablet. The whole world is scared of carrying electronic devices on board, and on tanker terminals, you can imagine what a difficulty it has been. But finally, I think we are reaching that phase. You can't see it. I cannot read anything.
SIRE inspectors going to give an OCIMF tablet. So the objective is already being tablet itself. It is whether he goes or Singh goes or Pradhan goes, idea we need.
You cannot broaden so you can read.
It's a huge program. Every SIRE inspector having the same tablet.
Yeah, open it. You can open it as a down now. Down. There should be 2 lines of human element, which is what I want to stop. case study, but we won't give.
10 of 12 minutes. Go. Back. Back.
Hey, guy.
Back करना. Back करो. Click करना.
Okay. Anyway.
तिकडे. Click more. 9 8 7
Okay.
6.
Yeah, just stop here. Just move this. No, go
6
This is a type of question, but there was one more about human element. Doesn't matter. It's not so critical. Okay, going back to Sire 2.0 and the need for Sire 2.0. Why did this come about? We had VIQ 7, Sire, which was the OCIM's answer to ISM, let's say, to control the quality of ships. That's what Sire is all about. To control the safety and security of people on board and to save liability for the oil companies. We must not forget that. The biggest thing after the Erika and the Prestige incident was what happened to Total. That's really the reason VIQ 7 came into being. That was the background behind VIQ 7. Right, just hold it. So VIQ 7 was going quite well. But after some time, OCIMF noticed that the number of incidents have again started. Though they came down from 1993, they have either stagnated or started creeping up. And so they instituted a sort of a committee in 2017 to find out what was happening. Why is this happening? What's the reason behind it? Now, as a practical Sire inspector, I can tell you, when I go on board, as somebody said, Sire inspector is coming, everybody shudders that, what's this monster coming on board? And either we have to hide something behind him or don't show it to him. This negates the very purpose. So when Sire 2.0 implementation started about 2-3 years ago, who were affected the most? One might think that the operators were affected. No, it was the Sire inspectors. For us, it has been a complete change. We've been struggling. It's like a new education for me. For the last few months, I've undergone various phases of training, human element training, which we never thought too much about. But now we started thinking, how should I talk to you? Are you going to get upset with the way I ask a question? I have to look whether you're Chinese, you're Russian, or this one. I have to understand each people's characters and handle them in the proper manner. So there's a lot of changes which have happened. And not only that, the biggest change is now we have to look for what you do well. We have to find out things which you do well. So you might now, as a master, you might suddenly find that you'll get 40 observations. Panic, right? Yes? Who agrees it's panic if 40 cocktail? Wrong. Because out of those 40 observations, now there may be 30 good observations. 30 of them may be because now the question set has got 4 different types of characteristics. Yet in the previous question set, there were only yes or no. No means observation, yes means no comments, right? This is how it was. Now you're going to have 4. Better than expected, which means that I must give some comments about it. Why is it better than expected? So let's give an example is the second mate does a passage plan. Now, as I explained, I inspect on an average 50 to 60 ships in a year. So I must have seen 50 to 60 passage plans. So if I say that you are better than expected, that means based on my experience, your passage plan of your second mate is better than expected. So now it's giving some value to that question, or it's as expected. I mean, this is what I want. These are the elements of the passage plan which should be there. It's okay. We are happy. Or largely as expected. That means something is missing. It's not terribly bad, but something needs to be done about it, and then not as expected. That means something is missing. Now the reader on the other side who's going to get my Sire report has much better understanding of the response. It's not just a yes or no, because yes or no doesn't tell me anything. Now it starts helping the guy. And now it cannot be a broker who's taking a decision. Now it's a actual person on the other end who understands what this is all about is going to take the decision. That's the main aim of Sire 2.0, giving the responsibility of understanding safety in the hands of the people who know. So if you look under TMSA, how many of you know about TMSA? Good. So there are some questions in SIRE 2.0 which are directly linked to TMSA. Yeah. So what they're going to do now is, now if under TMSA you have stated something, which are the new things which have come up? Navigational audits have to be done by shore personnel, third party navigational audits, third party engineering audits. This didn't exist. Third party cargo and mooring audits. This didn't exist. So at least now, let's say if your mooring ropes are not good, for instance, as a master, you're afraid to tell your manager, my mooring ropes are bad, please give me, because they cost a lot of money. A good high HMP rope costs $8,000, $10,000 a piece, right? So you're hesitant because your budget will be blown out of the wind. Now you don't have to worry. The third party guy is going to do it for you. So it has been handled in such a way that safety is going to be enhanced, and you are not going to be called a scapegoat. So for the inspectors, it's become a big job. And I think for the operator, so for the crew, it's a big bonus SIRE 2.0, because it's taken, now if you had an observation, you were considered like you were a scapegoat. You were made a scapegoat. Right? Captain, you're a bad captain. You had 5 observations. That last captain had only 3 observations. This sort of. So this fear of getting observations is expected to disappear. I hope. This is my hope, of course. It doesn't mean that it's going to change. It doesn't mean that it's going to change just like that. But that is the aim of the exercise. Yeah.
कुछ थोड़ा सा कुछ कम कर सकते हैं?
Yeah. But that is the idea. ISM has to be tuned into the
Mahatma Gandhi
Yeah. Right. One thing what I just take off from what you call it, Captain SUBHEDAR mentioned about incident reporting, right? Incident reporting. Now I've been so many ships I go on. 3 things I find missing. One is master's review. When I go on the master's review, all good. It's got so many sections. Anglo-Eastern has got so many sections. Tick, 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 tick. So, Captain, how's the ship SMS? Excellent. Everything working. Perfect. So then I start asking and I find out observation. I said, don't you think this should have been on the master's review? No, sir, but if I put this down, my DPA will complain. I have to change the whole thing. So many ships. I have to make changes. Find a way out. Am I right or wrong? Anybody wants to So this is what has to and will change, because this is going to come out now. Just now it wasn't visible, but now it's going to become visible. So these are the improvements in SIRE 2.0. Yeah. Same thing with incident reporting. Yeah. Again, incident reporting, near miss reporting. Most of the near misses I find are, oh, he wasn't wearing a helmet. Could be true. I can't find that on all the 50, 60 ships I see, and 3, 4 near misses. 75% of them are, he wasn't wearing a helmet or didn't wear his helmet. Other near misses. And when I go, I see navigational near misses. Master was not called on time, or the TCPA was not proper, or something. These those are called near misses, which I'm looking for. Not where I agree that not wearing a helmet is a near miss, but I would rather prefer that, when an engineer was going down to the cabin space, he kept somebody stand by, this sort of a near miss. Or a master, like I said, TCPA was not properly monitored. These are the sort of near misses we are looking for. That's again going to come out in SIRE 2.0. These things are going to come out with this. It's an added job for us, but that's what's going to happen. Right. Let's just go back to these questions now, these 4 types of questions which are there. So core questions are there for all the ships. They are based on the VIQ7. Everything is based on the VIQ7. They're all going to be there. Only thing, that added line will be there where the master and officers familiar, which didn't exist. Now, what used to happen was, if I went on the bridge and I saw the company policy, let's say, yeah? I saw the company policy, right? My job just now was to see, is the policy there? Now the difference is going to be where the masters and officers are aware. So I'm going to now call up second mate. Show me in the policy where this. He doesn't have to memorize anything, but he must know that this does exist. You'll be surprised how many times I've seen new books come on board. They've forgotten to take them out of the seal. As somebody says, we have 13 manuals. I can't expect somebody to read 13 manuals. I don't expect him to read 13 manuals. I'm never going to ask him. I just want to know, do you know where it is and what is it? That's what I'm looking for. Okay. Rotational questions, there are 2 types of rotational actually. So one is done every 3 months and one is done every 3-4 months, something like that. So there are two types of rotational questions, and that depends on OCIMF, how they want to, depending on the nature of the ship. If she has had a bad PSC, for instance, if she has had a terminal which is complaining about her, like, Exxon has their Exxon Mobil have their own terminals where they keep a terminal inspector comes on board. He may have made a comment. So that sort of thing. Conditional questions are again based on the type of ship. And the last one, the campaign question. Now, if a PSC, there's a, what do you call the PSC, these things? The campaigns, yeah? Yeah, the CS. So based on that, those questions are going to be based, or some new regulations coming up, for instance, something new. Now, one example I'll give you is now when ballast water management, ballast water treatment plants, they came out, supposed to be legislation, mandatory, but what about training? What about the understanding of the dangers of the various chemicals in use? Very, very limited. Where does this thing have chlorine? Does this thing have ozone? Do you have ozone detectors? Do you have chlorine detectors? Where is the danger? What about hydrogen? Unfortunately, lack of training. Again, all this will come out in SIRE 2.0. Okay, let's see the next. There's one more. I think it's after this. One more. No, further below. Where am I missing it? Done?
Now?
Some more. I don't know. There's like 2 columns on either side, which I've got all the human element questions.
This one?
No, go down. This is a case study. We have no time for case study. No, I missed it somewhere. Okay.
This one?
Can you just, I can't read it here. That's the problem.
No, that's
Human factors. Yeah. Can you read it? I can't read it.
Can you read it here?
That's the one you're
No, you can't move. He's
He's moving.
This is what the audience.
So this one, which the evaluation outcome, which I talked about, right? Execution of task exceeded expectations, was as expected. Execution of task was, and they're also referring to PIFs. These PIFs are performance indicating factors. Yeah. This doesn't matter for you people or the operators or the master. It's basically us. We have to recognize when we do when a question comes up, we have to tag it in the right. What does it come under? I'll give you an example of a PIF. So first PIF is recognition of safety criticality of the task or associated steps. And now it's become a little bit, I can't see it.
Bus.
Slightly small, so you can see both sides of it.
You made it 0.
So it has to be somewhere in between this and that. Little bit bigger.
Can you convert it to a PowerPoint and then do a PowerPoint show, please? I think it's not a PowerPoint document, right?
It's not PowerPoint. No.
To convert to PowerPoint, you can see the third tab from the right side. Convert to a PPT and then do a PowerPoint presentation.
Go to page 7.
Page 7.
Page 7.
change the size.
And slideshow.
Doesn't change the size.
Slideshow.
Today,
No, खाली.
You know,
This is portrait.
landscape, then it will count. No. Rotate view, no? Rotate. The left side on top, rotate. Yeah, rotate is. Screen. You don't have this. See different things.
This is what the audience can see.
Okay.
How come
There is no option to enlarge.
No option to enlarge, is it? No.
Let us go back to original. What is the origin?
Yeah, that it will move it a little bit.
That was better. Go to page 7.
Send the presentation to everybody.
Okay.
No, but right now is to describe. This is original.
Okay.
Okay,
That will be fine.
just keep it like
This
this.
is
Good enough.
Yeah.
Okay, just stop there. Stop there. Let's talk about this. Yeah. Few things, because I'm not going to talk about everything. Let's talk about the few things.
Few slides.
Yeah, that's exactly. So this is what I was talking about, what the job is for the inspector, this first part. So I have to apply. That is now, as you're aware, masters who are out here, when we came on board, we went into the master's cabin. Yeah. We had a talk, we looked at the documentation. That documentation is now finished. Because now the documentation is the job of the operators to hand over to OCMF 48 hours before the inspection. That makes the job for the operators a bit difficult because, as you know, ships are not so reliable. They don't go to the same port, they change their direction. Sometimes the charters change, something happens on route. Unfortunately, now you cannot change the inspector at the last minute. Because just now I've had 3 companies asking for the same ship, asking me for inspection. Shell, Exxon, BP, all asking for the same ship. And I'm the only one person there in FOS because I'm in France. South of France, there are only 2 inspectors, me and somebody. So one or the other gets all the inspections in the south of France. This can't happen now. One inspector appointed can only inspect that ship. And if it fails, I mean, for some reason the ship gets, port gets changed and he can't go there, they lose the inspection. So I don't know how they're going to handle that because for the operator, it's a big disaster because, if your 6 months is approaching, you need a SIRE inspection and suddenly you can't get it. So how is that going to be handled? These are some of the limitations of the new things. Okay, coming back to the inspection itself. So, like I said, no more documentation. I'm not going to sit 3 hours in the captain's cabin checking documents. My time starts as soon as I hit the gangway. So I'll be coming with my tablet, looking like one of your IT people, rather than a SIRE inspector. I'll come on board. I'll press a button. The GPS will record where I am on the tablet, and my inspection starts now. It will count the steps. So I can't sit in the captain's cabin and do the inspections as apparently I've been told some people do. I normally do my 10,000 steps some or other. Managing. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. But it will follow you. The tablet is going to mark what you do. It will mark when you stop. When you go for lunch, you have to press pause. So it will tell you how many idli vadas or whatever you eat in between, or steaks or whatever you want to eat. So it's going to make things difficult for us, not for anybody else. Now,
No button for end of the day.
yes, after you finish, when you leave the ship at the gangway, you press the button again and the inspection is over. You can't change the inspection. Now, coming back to the closing meeting now. This is the most terrifying part of the day today, closing meeting. The superintendent is there, the master is there, second chief engineer is there, everybody's sitting around waiting. What is this? What's going to happen to us? Some companies, am I going to be sacked? Some companies, is my bonus going to be taken away? You know, all these sort of fear and mind which actually should not be there. It's not supposed to be there. So we are supposed to have something called a no blame culture under ISM. Am I right?
Yes.
Absolutely. Right. Unfortunately, it is there on paper and unfortunately it doesn't exist in. And here now we Sire inspectors can help. Many Russian masters, in fact, come to me. Captain, please put this down. I've been asking the company so many months. They are not giving this to me. Please put it down. I'm good. I'm happy to do that because it helps the ship. It helps the safety of the ship. That's what we are there for. That's what I tell them. We have to work together towards safety. You help me, I help you. Ship gets safer, you get safer. It's okay. And that's the way it should be. And that's the way it will be. I'm hoping again. I'm not promising anything, but that's the idea behind Sire 2.0. Okay. So where are we now on this question chart? Yeah. So this is, so now the second part of a job. If you look at the first, first one, left side, yeah. Okay. So we're talking about apply human factors, yeah? So,
Apply human factors.
Yes, sir. Okay. Which is, yeah. Okay, now all questions don't have human factors. As you know, some defect lists will have just yes or no answers. So they are called binary questions. We don't need to differentiate. They'll be exactly the type of questions they are now. Human factor questions will come. For instance, passage plan. That's the question of human factors will be involved because how did the second mate handle it? Maybe the procedure was good. Company Anglo Eastern has got a lovely procedure for making the passage plan very impressive, but did the second mate understand it? Did the master make sure the procedure was followed? So now we are coming to the next level of the question. First is, was the procedure there? How was the procedure understood? And how did they handle the procedure? And if there was some problem with the procedure, did they report it back? So now we have got 4 different things where we can find good things or bad things. So I might find 3 good things and 1 bad thing. The same question. So it doesn't have to have 1 answer for that question. It may have 4 answers. 3 good, 1 bad, 3 bad, 1 good, doesn't matter, whatever it is. So that's what is going to change. Then we have to rank it. We have got about, I think there are about 290 different groupings. So we have to identify the grouping and under which grouping this question comes under. So that helps who does it help? The vetting coordinator on the other side who is sitting in BP or Shell. So he immediately blocks it. That goes into this section of where he has to look at. It could be under cargo, it could be under navigation, it could be under engineering. So that helps him. It's not for us. It doesn't concern the operator. Then the execution of the task. How was it done? For instance, let's say the cargo, let's say the cargo, let's say discharging of cargo. The discharging program is done well, but was it followed properly? Was the execution proper? That means, did they check, let's say, did they check the sounding at the right time, or knowledge was it checked, or gas readings were properly taken, or the IG content being monitored properly? These sort of things. The execution of the task that's what is monitored. So in this case, maybe the chief mate was good, pumpman was doing his job well, the duty officers are all right, not bad, but some part of the functioning system was not operating well. For instance, let's say the pressure gauge on the pressure sensors were not operating. But what did they do? They put in place something else as a safety measure. We made sure that somebody was checking with the portable gauge. They told the pumpman every 1 hour, check the pressure in that tank. Right? We are recording all this. No observation there. Nothing wrong because it's a defect. Defect has been reported. It has been handled properly. It has been mitigated. and all the officers and the crew know what's going on. Perfect. This is a system the way it should be. There's nothing wrong with this. And this is like what Captain SUBHEDAR said. Because on an old ship, sometimes you will find many things not working. But how are the crew handling it? Are they doing it in the correct way? Are they reporting it to the company? And is the company taking appropriate action? Company might say, yes, I will send. I see a message. You know, sometimes very often there's a message. Master has asked for this. One answer from the technical superintendent, acknowledge. What's the meaning of acknowledge? Are you going to supply it? Or you don't want to supply it? Or when are you going to supply it? It should be responded in a proper manner. Let's say, you can say that this thing is it's obsolete, out of stock, whatever, we are looking for a substitute, all this is good stuff. But if you just say acknowledge, to me it means that you haven't really taken any interest in the ship. So that goes on the procedure side. That will become a negative observation on the procedure, execution of the task. But on the operator side. Right. What is on the other side? Let's see. There's something you can talk about the other side. Otherwise, we'll go to the next one. Yeah, these last ones are the PIFs. But I don't think you need to worry too much about these PIFs. These are only for us. Unless somebody wants to become a Sire inspector, then I'll talk about it.
I think I
want to know how they will become Sire inspector.
no, it's always better to know the Sire inspector's view, right? For if as well.
Right, I can actually, few words, okay.
Yeah.
So this question out of the box, people want to know what do you do to become a Sire inspector? Firstly, you have to be either a master or chief engineer with at least 5 years of sea time as a master or chief engineer. That's step one. You have to be sponsored by an oil company. One of the oil companies has to sponsor it, right? Then they will check you and they will make sure that you have done a psychometric analysis, that you are capable of handling things on your own, or, I don't know, psychometric analysis is, I think many of you understand what's the meaning of that. So they'll do that. Then there's a Sire course, there's a training course. Once or twice in a year, it's conducted in Singapore and London and New Orleans, wherever it is, somewhere. So you have to apply for that course. And again, that the submitting company will sponsor you for that, right? So you pass that course. Now you have the ability to get trained as an inspector. That means now you will go on board a ship with another inspector and you're just going to watch. So you have to do 3 of this type of inspections first. After you get these 3 inspections, then now you go on an audited inspection. That means now you're going to do the inspection. Somebody is going to monitor. If that inspection is satisfactory, there you are. You become a Sire inspector. The problem it takes time is because many operators don't want to see 2 inspectors on board. They refuse. They get scared that if you have 2 inspectors, that means I get double the observations. You see?
Especially when you're audited, you don't want to, you don't want to write whatever.
Exactly. So I was very lucky. I applied, I think, in July of 2012, and I became an inspector in August. So BP was my sponsor, and they were very quick. They said, go. Next week, you have a training course in New Orleans, fly there, come back to our office in London where we have the psychometric stuff, do that. And I had an inspection arranged in FOST because I'm very lucky that I live in an area in the south of France where many tankers are coming there all the time. So I was fortunate. But everybody is not so fortunate. And I know people sometimes take a year, 2 years before they can get certified. And the rule of OCAMF is that they don't want to exceed the number of inspectors beyond what it is now, which is between 420 and 440 inspectors around the globe. They don't want to change it. They don't want to dilute the quality of the, of the inspector.
I think the sponsorship.
Huh?
It has not only sponsorship.
Correct. That's true.
And the Sire inspector is paid per inspection or it's a monthly salary?
Okay. Now, some companies like Total, they have their own inspectors. Now, if I work for Total, I can't work for anybody else, right? But most others we are freelance. So I do inspections. I'll tell you, I do inspections for BP, for Shell, for Exxon, for NE, for NM, for Maxcom, for Chevron, Marathon, Equinor, you name it. So whoever calls me And like I said, sometimes this trouble happens that 3 oil meters want the same ship and they all ask me. Unless I chop myself up.
Your inspections are uploaded in the OCI.
Okay, now another thing, good thing about Sire 2.0 is that, good or bad, I don't know. Your location is noted down. So you are in that area. My area is now south of France. I extend from Rotterdam to Italy and Spain and the whole coast. That's my area. So if an inspection or the ship comes in that area, I'm one of those inspectors would be called for that area. That's the background behind it. Just now I've seen Greek inspectors going to Argentina to inspect those. I don't know why, how that happens, but it happens. So, yeah. So that won't happen anymore. You'll have specific.
Probably that is one of the reasons why you got a call for, pass from BP. So of your location, you said you are lucky, but they exploited your luck.
No, but you're absolutely right. One of the questions, what was asked in my psychometric? Guarantee us that 5 years you'll stay in Monaco.
Exactly.
Because they know that Monaco is an expensive place. They wanted to guarantee that I will be there for at least 5 years. Okay, now it's 12 years, but it's that's true. That's happened. But I do inspection here also. I've come to Vadina. I'm on holiday. And the day I come back on holiday, says, can you go to Vadina and do an inspection for us? So I have done it.
Paradip.
Paradip I didn't do. I did in Haldia. I've done in Mangalore. I've done in Mangalore. But that's when I'm supposed to be on holidays. It happens. Okay. Okay. So these are the PIFs. Now we can read the PIFs. My God, how do you succeed? Brilliant. So these, like I said, these are just meant for us to be able to highlight. So when we do the report, in the report, one is the type of question, under which category it comes, and if it comes under the exceeded expectations or not as expected or largely, then we have to tag it. If it is as expected, we don't have to do anything. That's the question, it's just yes and finish. But if it's in one of these other 3 categories, we have to tag it under what it comes under. Maybe more than 1 PIF. Could be about the criticality, could be the procedures are not okay.
Hello.
Maybe the team maybe the team dynamics is not good. What do I mean by team dynamics? I'll tell you what I mean by team dynamics. I was on a ship, tiny ship, and they were all speaking in Mandarin. I couldn't understand a word of what's going on, Every time I asked a question, this fellow will go and ask that fellow, that fellow will ask that fellow will tell him something, then he'll come back now. I don't know. I said, yeah, very good teamwork, but not for me. But I want to know whether he knows what he's talking about. But here now it's fantastic teamwork. I don't know who's responsible for it. So team dynamics is important, but in this case it was a little confusing. So I had to make a note on this. I'm asking the question of the second mate, but I'm not sure whether it's the second mate who answered. So I got a call back from BP. This is what exactly you mean, Captain. I said, this is how it was going on. It was like a round robin thing going on over there. So I don't know what happened to that ship, but that's not my business. Our job is not to, let's say, we don't vet a ship. We are just completing what we are supposed to see, what we see from a professional point of view. Okay. I think that's the PIF, so we can go past that. Go down. This is part of the same. Go down. This is still the PIFs. Anything else is there? Otherwise, we go to the next slide. Go to the next one. Change. Now that you've got the right size, we can change to the next one. Go to the next one. Yeah. Human factors. Yeah. See, this is what I said. Execution of start exceeded expectations. We have to put PIFs. Yeah. If it was as expected, we don't need to do anything. Yeah. The next one. No. If it was largely, then we have to put PIFs, and it's the last one, not expected, we have to put down which PIFs are causing the problem. What I mean is that if the criticality could be the people, could be the procedures, could be all 3. What is affecting the problems? Okay, next. That's it. Close then. If it's finished, that's the last one. No?
Yeah, next.
Close. Open the next one. Close. No, close this completely. Close is the next. There's another.
This one.
Close kar de,
Fully close kar.
full file close.
So I close and open the next one.
Fully close karo.
Close kar, minimize. Okay.
Close. Not screen sharing.
Not screen. Cancel kar.
Let's take out another file. There were 3 files.
Yeah.
Dr. Sasikumar, there were 3 files. No?
Yeah, 3 minutes.
Yes.
We took the first one.
तुमच्याकडे काय आहे?
I think I am.
तुमच्याकडे सगळं.
हे मिनिमाइज कर घेणं प्रॉब्लेम.
Okay. We did that. Now go to module 5, inspection question type. Module, yeah, that's all. And then we'll do the last one. That's it.
Yes.
Okay, next. Now we can move as now, yeah. Next.
Sorry.
Next. Next. Okay, right, here we can, now here we can see more about what I was talking about, the type of questions which are there. Everybody is aware about the VIQ which you have to fill in, right? The HVPQ. Now it's called the CVIQ. Okay, and this CVIQ has to be uploaded before the inspection. Yeah, I know, because you have to put pictures. Yeah, 29. There is also this didn't exist again in this present VIQ. We didn't take any pictures of anything. Now what happens is that before you start the inspection, you have to upload certain pictures. That means it could be a picture of the bow, the forecastle. There are certain areas which have been.
Biggest problem is each time you can't have same set of pictures.
That's true. Yes, so that's so you can't fudge all that. Right? So ideally,
This one question.
yeah.
Every Sire 2.0 question has got a section which says that are the following things SMS.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we actually need, are you, I mean, a science group is a science paper, you need to get few random points that this is there in your manual or not?
Absolutely. We have to. In fact, what I do is each ship which I go even now, I've already taken out a few questions which I'm going to ask, and those are my pet questions. So good oil, like Anglo-East and all, they've already got a list of the questions I'm going to ask. They already know.
What are they? Of course. Revamping the manual for the reason. So the question is same and it's a question.
So certain questions you have to have, which you I mean, you can't ask everything. It's impossible. I mean, the SIRE inspection takes 8 to 10 hours. How are you going to ask everything? So you pick and choose based on the age of the ship. Now, if I go on a Chinese ship built in Wangpu, sorry, and she is 10 years old, I've inspected about, let's say, 30-40 ships of that type. I know exactly what I'm looking. And the guys on the ship are also surprised. How do you know? I said, of course, if I inspected, I'm an idiot if I don't know after 30-40 ships what's wrong with your ship. And they're surprised that I know this. I go to a seawater pipe and see a hole in it. And I know I'm going to find a hole in the seawater pipe near the seawater filter. I know it because each and every ship I've seen has got a patch underneath there. And they're shocked. So these are things which we come from our experience, which we know. So that saves time. So some ships have got different problems. Some ships have got this, that. You pick up on these things. And that's the job of the inspector. But now SIRE is helping us do that because they have now done what I'm doing now. They are doing by these rotational questions, by these campaign questions. They are looking at issues on that ship or that class of ship or that type of company or that type of crew, and they are putting those questions for us. So some of the job which I'm talking about, they are taking over that. So it's good for us. Okay.
Nice.
You see the rotational questions, allocation frequency every third or fourth month, rotational 2. Okay, just stop here. No, stop. Go down. Yeah. Yeah. Right. So this is for us. What you're seeing here is not for you, it's for us, for the inspector. So what OCAMF is saying, if a negative observation has been raised against a core question, yeah, in a previous inspection, due to its criticality, then the details will be inserted in my inspection. When I'm given that inspection, it will already be there as a question which I have to ask or look at. So this is something new.
Just for the core question?
Just for core questions. Yeah, core questions are the ones which are critical. Yeah. Then, so you can also already provide an answer to the negative question, as an operator. So if that is there, then problem is solved. If you have already handled it, you have handled it correctly, and I have this information beforehand, it's okay. Then go down. slowly. Now you've seen the question set of Sire 2.0, right? There's 740 pages in and 700 and something in the second set. Obviously, I'm not expected to carry this with guidance with me, right? So what they have done is they have taken out sections of the guidance from me, because I have to do this during the inspection. For each question, I must see what is the guidance, and if I have to carry that big booklet, I'll be it's not possible. So they have given the specific specific areas which I must target, which also could have a link to the TMSA, and I'm going to ask questions based on that. Yeah. Okay. So stop. As I was explaining, the VIQ chapter 7 structure is the same. Nothing has changed. It's carried forward onto Sire 2.0. Yeah? All the question set is almost very similar, but links to TMSA. Yeah? Good on. Stop here. Okay, this is what I said, top level question. Same thing. First line in red, were the masters and officers familiar with the company procedures? So that's the question which is going to be asked in each and every question that is there. Yeah. So go up a little. Yeah. So here's the three parts of the question: human element, procedure, and hardware. So under this ballast water management system, were the crew familiar with the procedures, tasks used, and procedures, were the procedures available? So one question I ask even now with the ballast water treatment is, I go into the, what do you call it, the plant maintenance system. And I ask the chief, what is the plant maintenance requirements for the ballast water treatment plant? He shows me something. Then I ask him for the manufacturer's manual. We look at the, and I know in the, what do you call it, which is this system? Which system do you have on board?
Ocean Saver.
Which one? Ocean Saver.
Pan Asia.
Pan Asia. Yeah, Pan Asia. Okay. I think Pan Asia in probably page 67 or something is got maintenance requirement, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And there are all these maintenance requirements there. Weekly, what you have to do? How much spare chemical of this TRO chemical you need to keep? How much you need booster chemical? So all that is listed. If that is there in the PMS, good for me. And if you're following it, but if the manufacturer requirements have not been carried forward, then obviously something's wrong, and that will come under procedural element. Then, if it is not there but you're doing it, now I'm going to put an exceeded expectations comment under human element, because it's not there. You have found it out and you have done it. So that's brownie point for the ship staff. So this is what you should be doing now, looking for those brownie points from the inspector, and he's looking for these points. So he's not trying to not put you down. So he wants to build you up. So give him a chance to build you up. That's the essence of 2.0. Help the inspector to help you. Okay.
So any brownie points from inspector, every two good will negate one negative.
Why? It could be all. Why does it have to be? Why does it have to be negative? Don't look at negative. All positive.
I'm sure. Yeah, as you said, everything is not possible or perfect.
No. Other than ISM, we are looking. We won't. If we find something which is slightly, we're not there to write it down. Frankly speaking, if it's really something which is concerning, we'll definitely write it down. If it's something which is going to help you, like I told you, the Russian captain said, put this down. I'm more than happy to do it. But if it's something slightly, and I see the general tendency that you as a master are managing your crew well, or you as a chief engineer, you're managing the team well, I would tend to. Because after all, I've been a seafarer. I understand the limitations. I understand what sort of voyages you do. I understand the problems. If you just come from a bad voyage, I know you had bad weather, and I see some water has leaked in somewhere. I think that will be terrible if I am going to put it down as an observation. If you have not handled it properly. If you report it to me, this packing was bad, I ordered it, didn't come, the water has come, but I've been monitoring, my night watchman has been going and checking the forecastle or wherever it is that. Fine, it's okay. Okay.
Next.
See here now, industry guidelines, that is about the conditional question. They've added the requirement from TMSA here. Okay, so they will put a link to TMSA, which was not existing in VIQ 7. Down. Okay. So this is the last part of it, which is say industry guidance. It doesn't have to be in SOLAS, it doesn't have to be in MARPOL, it doesn't have to be in VIQ7, but it could be something new coming up, or it's a general practice of the industry. So I have now been given the liberty to put a flag up a question which is not there at all, but which I find is could be useful in helping the vessels safety. So it doesn't have to be listed. Now what happened is I have an argument in the closing question, but Captain, this is not there in VIQ. Why are you putting this down? You know, so no reason to put it down. But now, based on my experience, I can't put it down because it should be there. Yeah. So it says it's not exhaustive, not intended, but it's only partial. Must be concerned. Okay. Okay. So here's what I was talking about, the ballast water treatment system. Yeah. So everything is here in this line. In these 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullet points, everything is there. First is the procedures. Then I'm looking at the panel to see whether the system is operating. And then I'm looking at the monitoring data because you can get the data on the panel. Then I'm looking at the visible parts. Is there a leak somewhere? Is something happening? And maintenance inspection. So everything is there. All the elements of what is required are listed over there. And then I'm going to ask the last part. Interview the accompanying officer and verify that familiarity. So I go there and I ask him, where is CRO panel? What's this? And he doesn't know. Obviously, that's the problem. Yeah. Okay.
Next.
Okay. We can, I think, this is all. No, it's okay. This is going too deep into it. That's what. Let's go back. This is again for me. How do I record? This is for the inspector. How do you record it in the observation model, the different types? Okay, close. Finish.
How do you deal with the language? How do you deal with the language?
How do you deal?
Different nationalities.
It's the problem. You're right. It's not easy. Frankly speaking, sometimes it becomes, and sometimes officers use it as an excuse. They pretend not to understand. And then towards the end, when the inspection is going well, they start understanding everything. Yes.
Next.
I've observed this over the time.
For next one.
Okay, we go up a little bit. Oh, battery is where is it?
Down.
Where were we now? This is hardware element. Go up, it was one.
Element.
Go up, it's bounced a little bit. Go up, just down a little bit. Yeah. Little bit more down. Little bit down. Okay, now we can't identify people. That's one thing new. We should not be highlighting whether it is the chief engineer or the master or the second mate. We have to, it has to be an observed person. We call him an observed person, the guy, or the responsible team, whether it is an engineer or an engineering team or whether it is the deck team, right? And same thing, senior deck officer, junior deck officer, rating. And again, what is the meaning of deck team? Historical task only. So, let's say what should I say? If you have sent me a photograph of the foredeck, yeah, and your foredeck is looking very good, but this was 6 months ago, right? Because you took the photo 6 months ago. There are a lot of 6 months. And I come on board and it's completely rusted, but you are not the crew which was on board at that time. So that will become deck team task historical. That is, these are previous guys who didn't do the job properly or did it properly. So I must highlight who did it. So this is another new thing which has come. Otherwise, very often I go on board and the guy says, this is a previous chief engineer. I don't know anything about it. I just joined 2 days ago. How do I know? So I've got the option to write as a historical task. I don't have to have an argument with him about who did it or he didn't do it or something. I just put it down as historical task done by the previous. What? If it is good, yes, absolutely. If it exceeds expectations, it will be written as exceed expectation, but not on this chief engineer. The previous chief engineer will get the benefit of it. You know what I mean? Or the previous captain or the previous deck crew or whatever it is. Yeah, definitely. It's just trying to, as you've seen from everything what I'm saying is they're trying to analyze into segments to clarify rather than leave it. open to somebody else's interpretation.
So how do you weigh actually conclusive or based on the Sire output or Sire output? How do you weigh the performance of the condition of the vessel so far?
Correct. You're absolutely right. But now what is the method of analyzing today? Number of observations, right? Literally. What do you do? What do you have KPIs in your company? How many observations do you have? Good ship, good captain, good crew, right? So this is not how it's going to be now. So you're going to say, let's say now that these observations have been broken down into different areas. So this ship had so many good observations in this area, so many from this area. So now the submitting company, whether it's BP or this thing, has a record of all this, and they will see this company is showing good levels in this area, not so good in this area, like that. So they will now have a much better assessment of the program than what it was just now. That's the idea.
How do you rate? How do you rate what points do you consider as a rating?
It depends on what, let's say, okay. Let me just give you a very simple question. Now, if a company is doing STS operations, what do you think they are looking at? Let's tell you. Are you carrying out third-party mooring audits? Isn't that a good question? Because I'm doing regular STS operations. I need to show that my mooring system is in good system, my engines are okay, my blah 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 is okay. Same thing. Can my engines run at slow speed? So many questions are related to STS operations. So I will be looking at questions on that. And if those questions are all good, for me this ship is good. I don't care about something else. So it depends on what you're looking at. Or maybe you're going to a specific port. And so that's one issue.
One more thing, the other thing is your tablet.
Right.
You set tablet, you come on board, you put it on,
right,
and then it has to remain on.
Yeah, all the time.
Upper good side, bad side, both sides. Yeah. I'm not trying to point fingers, but that reminds me of the movie Speed. No? The vehicle had to move at a particular speed, and it cannot stop. Or it cannot, but it has to go on. The driver changes there. You get the point. So the driver.
Oh, you send somebody else with the tablet and walk around. That's interesting. Frankly, I hadn't thought about that. That's quite an interesting point. So I come on board and I hand it over to somebody and tell him to walk around. It's a good idea, actually. Good idea.
Can go around.
I'll tell you, Indians are jugaad masters. This is one thing I've learned. No, frankly speaking. I told you, I inspect a lot of shit. All the jugaad comes from Indians, believe it or not. Other people try to hide, some people do this thing. But jugaad,
I'm surprised you found that looking in the Swiss office again and you tell you didn't know what.
no, it's an interesting observation. I will bring it up to OK friends. See, this time
What about Chinese? They are not jugaad masters.
Chinese are they try to hide. They pretend they don't. Their biggest defense is they pretend not to understand it. And Russians don't answer you, they just stand blank.
Yes.
And then once you get to know them and you get their confidence, then they will tell you everything. Absolutely. They will tell you everything. They'll help you out. Even if you haven't seen something, they'll say, you see this, we've got a whole So different characteristics are there, no doubt.
I hope I am not built the cat.
No, but this part I'm definitely going to bring up about what happens when you hand over the tablet to somebody else. Right. Okay.
Next.
Okay, so what I was talking about, graduated response and binary response. Human element questions always have a graduated response. That means exceeded expectations, as expected, largely, or not as expected, while a hardware response is only binary, yes or no, obviously. It's either broken or not. Okay. And same thing, procedure can also have 4 different. Go down. Okay. There's a photo comparison, as I said. Okay, let's stop here. Somebody photographic. So the photographs provided should be representative of the general condition of the similar areas. And if the area photograph has been upgraded and similar, then the photograph cannot be considered being a representation. So you cannot show me a photograph of something else, and and what was sent to me was something else, and now I see something. So you can't do that. You have to be careful that they should be the same. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Right. So now, talking about number of observations, you can have more than one observations for the same question. This didn't exist. We used to call this double dipping. You heard the word, no? Double dipping it used to be called. We were not allowed to do double dipping. That means on the same question we could not have. Now you can. But there could be a good answer. So I could have asked the same question. Say, let's go back to the ballast water treatment question. Yeah? Because who's involved in the ballast water treatment? Chief officer is involved. Chief engineer is involved. Maybe the duty officer was involved in it. Maybe the pumpman is involved. So now I've got 4 different. I'm going to ask the pumpman inside the ballast water treatment plant room a question. In the CCR, I'm going to ask the chief officer some question about it. And in the engine room, I'm going to ask the chief engineer about the PLA. 3 different. So all 3 could be either good or bad. So on the same question, I could have 3 observations, either good, negative, or whatever.
There are 9 observations.
I can see the panic already setting.
Was for it,
Number of?
from 7 days.
Okay. So this is what I was saying, multiple observations under the same question. Yeah? It's good. This is all I've spoken about all this. Finished? Then go to the last one. We got 10 minutes, quick. Last one. Very quick introduction. I'm not going to waste time on this. Yeah? You should know.
See, now this is a PowerPoint.
This is PowerPoint. You can go directly. See.
Slideshow.
Go slideshow.
Next one.
Oh, nice. Wait, go back. The first one. Yeah. This we come to Captain SUBHEDAR's. First one. What's the difference between ISM and this? Nothing. Absolutely. Exactly what he was talking about. CMMI. Plan, act, measure. Okay, slightly. Plan, do, check, act was the ISM thing. Not this side. But it's the same thing. There's no difference. There's no difference in this KPIs, self-assessment. This is the ISM, right? CMMI is basically what ISM is all about. Oh, it's not shared? We have seen VIQ 7 that 13 points are still the same. 13 chapters haven't changed. So much of technical error. No.
Share.
Okay. Okay. This first one here.
Yeah.
Click on this and then we can go slide down. Next. Click. Go to the next slide. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, this is slide. Now we can just go ahead one by one. No? Okay. So this hasn't changed. You still have to maintain your TMSA. They haven't changed. Let's put it this way. This is not finished. SIRE 2.0 is in phase 3. So they have agreed that they have reached this phase. We are still asked to submit. I'm still asked to submit, anything which I see. So I may even discuss about this and I put it and it will be accepted. They might say now somebody has to, you have to make sure that you carry the tool with you and not give it to somebody. You know, I don't know, something like that might come up. But having said that, they're asking for feedback. So some inspectors have already started inspecting and we're collecting this feedback, and so there could still be changes. And in fact, I have a BP seminar in London on 13th of October, where we'll have to pool all this feedback and again, maybe some changes. That will be phase 4, and finally, then we'll go on our own and start. And also the inspectors, the operating companies have 6 months to choose VIQ 7 or SIRE 2.0. So you can still be inspected for 6 months.
Well, the inspectors are going to England for training. The operators are meeting in Greece. So it's only OCMA kind of organization can do this kind of thing. It's a very big difference between how ISM is done and how SIRE is being done. Inspectors are being trained, operators are being trained. They're two different parts on the same thing. You're going to exchange each other's notes, I think.
Correct. And Intertanko, what they're doing is the same input is going to Intertanko, who's having their own seminars, bringing their members together. So, I mean, if everybody doesn't know, it's going to fail. And that's why we have been asked also to talk about it. We have been not told to keep quiet. This is, after all, what you are seeing now is a Sire inspectors training module. It hasn't been shown to operators. You're seeing something which operators crew hasn't seen. So it doesn't matter. You have been asked to do that. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this, as I explained, hasn't changed. This is VIQ 7. It remains exactly the same, but they are talking that there might be one change. I don't know what that's going to be, but there could be an added chapter. Next one. So here, this is something different. Oh. Yeah. So where the KPI has a connectivity to Sire 2.0, it will be colored. So as you know, you have to do, TMSA has to be in stages. Stage 1, everybody must do. Stage 2, better level. And most operators are at somewhere around stage 3, if I'm not correct. And some guys like to put stage 4. So if you put stage 4 and it's colored green, that means each and every question has to be answered. And I'll tell you in stage 4, what are the questions? I'll just point out some of them. 1, the bridge resource management every 3 years. ODME inspections annually. OWS inspections or calibration annually. Cargo, mooring, engineering, navigation audits by a third-party auditor annually. This is all green. TMSA is stage 4. So if you want to head in that direction, make sure that you're doing all these things before you paint TMSA. Otherwise, it will be a Sire observation. And you fail. Even though your ship is very good, you will fail. Because you are written something which you are not doing. Okay. We're coming to ISM again and SMS, right? Everything here is what is SMS, right? I don't think there's anything in this. Okay, next. Here, the red ones, must. The red ones are which you must have, level 1. We're asking about reference documents. That's in stage 2, you see reference documents identified and available, rules are there. And then you go up.
Rules and responsibilities.
Last one, can you just read the last level 4? What does it say?
Benchmarking further improvements.
Okay. So if you want to go to level 4, then you have to go to that added step of benchmarking. And what is the second one?
Innovation used in implementing improvements.
It's going to be very difficult. I mean, half the people won't understand what is innovation. So I'm not talking about you people. I'm not talking about this audience, but I'm saying in general.
Assurance program established to verify
Effectiveness
of
Stage 4 is our bag, mujhe mat marna. Why panga lene ko jaane ka hi nahi ho.
And what people don't understand is that that's not giving you any added benefit. Operators want to go to stage 4 and then fail stage 4 and then wonder my ship is good. That guy had only stage 3 and his ship is selected and my ship is being rejected. Why is this happening? And because he's doing what he's doing and you're not doing what you're saying. That's the difference. Okay. Next one. This one is all. Yeah. So what is the last one? Let's just go to level 4. What is he saying? Can you read the level 4 questions?
Yeah, the procedure to access group members for job competency are in place. The next one is documented succession plan is in existence for future manning needs.
These are all tough ones.
Yes,
Because half the people are, especially third-party managers.
Yeah.
Very difficult for third-party managers because how can they assess, because the ships are changing. Suddenly, this year he has got 300 ships, next year he's got 200 ships. How is he going to handle that? It's very difficult. I mean, these are things which you can't do. So don't go near it. Stay away from that last one.
The other one is that cross-cultural interpersonal skills are promoted.
That's very
No, not to do.
Not to do.
Do more than the minimum and then fail. करो ही मत ना साला जितना बताया उतना ही करो.
No, but what will happen is that if you stick to your level 2 or 2.5 and you're happy with it, then you will have the, let's say, the guts to go to the next one. If you just push to level 4, then you're doomed for failure from one. Don't go there. So as Captain Subhedar said, you go low, then push yourself to challenge. Then your crew will come back and say, yes, we can do 3. Okay, let's go. Next, so let the crew come back. Last one, level 4 again.
Level 4. Seminars are held for all officers to promote the SMS.
I see very few companies doing this on a regular basis because, and again, logistics. Now with Zoom, of course, you could manage that, but otherwise, logistics to bring people in your office. You got Romanians, you got Russians, you got Ukrainians. Where on earth are you going to bring them to your office? It's not really. Like I said, I never make a comment on this because I think if something you can't do, don't put it down. Forget about it. It's not so critical.
Next one, the documented procedure to conduct vessel health risk assessment is in place.
I'm sure a lot of companies have good booklets on this. That 13-page, what is the document you were talking about?
13 volume.
13 volume has definitely got a lot about this, right? All about health and how the company is managing your health and things like that. We actually go to see a doctor, he doesn't exist. Okay, last one.
The company provides career development opportunities by arranging showcase assignments for vessel personnel.
Anybody has anything to say about that last one? You get shore-based assignments, anybody? Any shore staff, ship staff? You get offered shore-based assignments? That's good. That's actually very good. If you're getting put in the office once in a while, spend some time, I think that's a very positive. Yeah. Companies are doing that, that's extremely positive. Huh? But that's good. That's next. Again, last one, please.
The maintenance and defect reporting system integrates the spare part inventory and procurement.
So what we have been asked now, up till now, we didn't go in so deep into this. Now what I have to do is, first again, go back. Ballast water treatment is my favorite subject. So I'll take out one spare part which has to be replaced, let's say, every 3 months. Okay. I'll go into the spare parts locker and ask him how much stock do you have? Actually, writing so much in the PMS, what is there? What is it there actually? I'll just take 1 or 2 things like this, and this is what we are supposed to do now. So we have to physically check whether the spares which are mentioned are actually on board. Next one.
The maintenance and defect reporting system tracks all the deferred repairs items for inclusion in dry dock specs.
So this question I would ask if the ship is due for dry dock in the next 6 months, for instance. If the ship has just come out of dry dock, I won't bother about it. But if she's due for dry dock, obviously I'll ask this question. Next.
The maintenance and defect reporting system provides management with real-time status.
I think most companies are good with this because the PMS is now quite well.
PMS.
No, it's quite okay. Next one.
The plant maintenance system include the use of condition-based monitoring.
This is yes and no, because some modern ships have all this vibration monitoring, this thing monitoring. And there's some Indian companies also. That guy over there. He's supplying some condition-based monitoring. What's his name? Not Abdul, something like that. He came to Monaco to sell the product.
Next is the
Vishwa
engineering audits are completed by qualified experienced personnel, including on passage audit.
There you go. This is a tough one. So we are doing this. In fact, I have one engineer and one master in my company, and they are doing this for Greek companies. For Sakos, we do it for Sakos. We're doing it for some other companies, and these guys are regularly. They do a sailing audit. They do engineering, cargo, mooring, navigational audit, and we've been doing it on each of their ships. So that's something which is good. And then if you're already doing stage 4 and you can prove it, that's great, isn't it? Next. Quickly now. Last one.
The reliability and performance of critical equipment or systems and associated alarms in monitored and alarms is monitored and analyzed.
I think most people are doing. Yeah. Next. Only problem is critical system. I think Intertanko had come out with this. OCIMF has also given a picture. Has anybody seen the OCIMF guidance on critical system? Yeah. It spares. I think if you use that, do you use that?
Yes, sir. We made the whole.
And based on that. Okay, because before it was very easy. The technical supervisor said only main engine and auxiliary engine is critical. I think it's good. Okay.
Comprehensive navigational audits are conducted by passage by a suitable qualified and experienced person. Next one is navigational assessment and audit reports.
See, it's how much this thing is now being placed on this. This wasn't there now. so much of emphasis being placed on it. Then companies have started doing. Are your companies doing it? Anybody? Navigation audits on by third party?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, next.
Competency assessment program ensure that master and navigational officers maintain pool and specialized skills.
So this is for the what I told you about BRM, BTM, and also what you call it, ice navigation or even EGDIS. Basically, EGDIS also needs to be type specific. EGDIS. It's not enough to have just done it once. You need to renew it. Okay, next.
Navigational officers undertake periodic refresh of GIRISH, resource management simulator.
Now we talked about. Okay, next.
Officers attend show-based simulator course covering routine and emergency cargo operations.
This is regarding cargo. I think they're doing it. Yeah.
Next one is comprehensive audits are completed by a suitably qualified and experienced company representative. The audit includes observation of cargo, ballast, tank cleaning, and bunker handling operations.
Putting a lot of emphasis. Okay, close. Next.
The company actively seeks involvement of manufacturers to enhance the management of mooring equipment, including ropes, sound wires.
This is a little bit tricky. Some companies say that we send our ropes for destructive testing. Has anybody seen any ropes going for destructive testing? Yes. Good. That's important because otherwise it was all excuse, you know. But if they're doing it, that's a good point. How do they do it? But then what happens?
The rope gets destroyed.
When you get a new spare ropes, put on
You send a
sample section of that. And based on that, do they change all the other ropes? Supposing this rope they test and it's below 75%.
That's exactly the conundrum that MET4 is brought in, right? You're testing a section of the rope and then you're making a decision for the entire race. So I believe that it's not something the industry is ready for.
Yeah.
What the MET4 expects.
Yeah.
And including, because they're very quite categorical that a rope is to be retired when it reaches 75% of its strength.
Right.
And the only way the industry currently can determine 75% is by destroying the rope.
Right.
So the industry is not ready for something that the OCMO was actually published. So
No, this is not OCM. This is the mooring.
sorry, we make that is OCM.
What OCM is saying is that based on risk assessment, you can have your own structure. MEG4 is a guidance. You don't have to follow MEG4.
It's got the guidance.
It's got as a guidance, exactly.
So guidance becomes mandatory.
No, but what you can do is what companies do is it's a very useful thing what they do is some companies have ships which are doing STS operations or they're doing transatlantic operations. Obviously, the number of operations done by a STS ship plus the movement is compared to a transatlantic ship is going to be different. So okay, these ships can keep their ropes for 8 years. While these ships
Not
can
really. That's for us to decide.
I'm just saying, I'm not talking about me saying, I'm saying what your company can say, not you. So you can say these ships have to be changed after 5 years. Acceptable. I mean, we have nothing against it. It's just that you are carried out.
But what I'm saying is the MET4 is quite categorical on
Yeah.
when the ropes have to be discarded.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So operators for 5 years, if the MET or somebody comes and asks, how do you determine in 5 years it is reached 75%?
There's no way.
You cannot.
Yeah.
Right? Which is where I'm saying that the document is far ahead of its time.
Hmm.
The MET4 is far
Yeah,
ahead.
I've done that. I've asked 4 different people, let's have a look at this rope. And chief made something, second made something else, third made something else, and captain something else. No,
I would not. Second mate and third mate. Ask operators, ask OCIMF,
I'm
ask
just saying on the
majors.
ship.
They would give you different answers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there is no
So
answer. That's why risk assessment is the only way of doing it based on historical data.
That's a workaround. That's a workaround. That's not what OCIMF expects. That's not what MET4 expects. That's a workaround the industry is going with.
Actually, OCM is not against
It's
that.
quite categorical. It's quite categorical. The MET4 is quite categorical. Ropes can be discarded at 75% only. And the industry has not found a way to determine that 75% without destroying the rope.
True. But
So then you work around saying that, okay, you check these ropes, you check for so many years, similar make, similar running hours, similar trade. Then you say, okay, this is 75%. But it's a workaround. And you have consultants and everyone coming up with solutions, but the MET4 is very categorical and industry is not ready for it. But the questions that are being asked around, and I think people are asking those questions. If you base that on that MET4, I think we are not ready for it.
Agree. MEG4, what they say, and I said, like I said, 75% is impossible for a visual detection. It's impossible.
Yes.
Nobody can do it. But on the OCMF side, I don't agree with that because OCMF is not categorically saying.
Food is categorical, it's published by the OCMI.
I know, but OCMF, I'm talking about.
So I can't say, I can write for publication.
No, I'm talking about the SIRE program.
Okay, sorry. I'm talking about OCMI, the categorical, the publication says that.
Okay, let's proceed. Agree to disagree. Okay, let's next one because your time is. We just rush through. Yeah.
All available means are used to ensure that the vessel can safely move at the terminal. The next one is comprehensive audits are completed by a suitably qualified and experienced.
Okay, I think
it's already there.
Yeah, we
The
already.
company actively seeks out available or innovative technology to enhance mooring.
This is great. Right.
For major changes to the show organization, management and change procedures ensure that manning
MOC, we already
and
have this.
experience levels are maintained so that there is no deterioration in supervision and management of the process. The company actively seeks out improvements from you, build design specifically.
I think we don't go to stack for it's too difficult for us. Let's go down.
Incident analysis data is shared with industry groups. Procedure ensure that where possible, all trained personnel are given the opportunity to participate in incident.
I think this is being done. I think everybody's attending incident investigation courses, right?
No.
This is very important.
This is investigation. Intertanko is also providing
So this is incident
investigation.
analysis data.
Yeah.
Yeah, incident analysis, I think you're getting from, not incident investigation, sorry, incident analysis.
So that is a
Is that being done?
closely guarded secret.
Yeah. And
Nobody wants to give.
Yeah. But I think that is coming out a little bit more. I think if you look in the OCMF, there is a portion where you have to put your incident down and then it will not be recorded as an observation if it's already there.
But what this was a question in on a ship is on board. Yeah. You can't rate.
Sir, this was a question in different channels.
Yeah,
In Singapore.
yeah,
Very common question.
yeah.
Yeah. But you're okay for open transparency.
Hmm.
So tomorrow the same 5 oil makers who are asking to open up.
They don't accept
first
it.
person to hold the ship until the other, even if it is small, medium, whatever. So it is very.
So let's watch and see, because as I explained right at the beginning, defects are now supposed to be entered in the system. And we are not supposed to record that as an observation, as long as it has been handled correctly. Let's see what happens, okay? Let's give them a benefit of.
It's not about an observation. Nobody put it on ocean.
That's what I'm saying. With SIRE 2.0, you're supposed to put it and it's not supposed to be an observation, okay? It's not supposed to be a negative. If it's been handled correctly. So this is the objective. Let's see how it handles. If it doesn't, then we'll come back and discuss it. Okay, next.
Periodic, at least 40, 50. The formal practice is in place.
I think this is all nice. Okay.
Leading and lagging indicators of safety performance are analyzed both across the fleet on an individual vessel basis in order to identify areas where safety control can be improved. Fleet safety trainers.
Captain, I think we can stop over here. I think we have got the idea what we're talking about. Everybody. Right. Gentlemen, thank you very much. I like the if there was a deficiency and you corrected during the inspection, then then the inspector wrote down that this was corrected during the inspection. Is that right? Was that the question? Ganesh
Khambata. Girish, you had asked one question. Girish, are you there? So, mute.
Okay. But anyway, it can be closed out during, if it has been corrected, then it can be closed out.
Hi, I had asked this question in
Yes, Ganesh, please go ahead.
this observation during the inspection under Sire 2. Yes. Nowadays, how we have, if we have the inspector during the inspection, do we get the chance to correct it and get the observation closed in the Sire 2.0?
Yes. Yes, it can be closed out. What you cannot do is at the closing meeting, you come back and then discuss the question and then go back and say, now can it be corrected? Because in Sire 2.0, the inspector is carrying his tablet around and he's going to record it. So he will record it as an observation. And at the end, when you come back and say, I'm showing objective evidence of it being corrected, he will record that as well, that this has been recorded. So that's fine. That's perfectly all right. But he cannot take it away right then and there. So he will record the observation. Let's say, for instance, like, I don't know. Example is your, I'm just trying to get, so what example can I give? Air pressure in the bottles of the lifeboat were not okay, for instance. Yeah, they were below the minimum of 180 bar or whatever. And you topped it up and you show him that this was there and you show him that the procedure is in place not to happen in the future. He can close it out. Okay.
Well, what about is there any difference between Sire 1 and Sire 2 in terms of closing out observations raised by the inspector?
No, the only difference in Sire 2.0 is that you can't wipe out an observation. Whatever you have recorded during this thing will remain as it is, and you can only show the reason and how it has been closed out. That's all. You can't take out an observation. Under Sire VIQ 7, you could have a discussion with the inspector and argue in the closing meeting, and maybe he would remove the observation. That cannot happen now because it's already been recorded, and no recording can be physically removed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think with that we'll come to an end of this session. Okay, I would like to thank on behalf of the company of Master Owners of Design and on behalf of all of you, as well as the audience who are seated here. I would like to thank both the speakers of today, CAPT SUBHEDAR sir. Can you please come back? It's a small memento as a token of our appreciation to you, sir.
Excellent. Thank you.
Captain Girish, LELE. Thank you, sir. This was really something new.
It's a pleasure to be there.
Sir, please, face here. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, thanks. Please join us for some snacks. Okay, one thing I want to announce. You know, we have the members of CMMI. We have an election coming up. Some of you may already have received an email from NSDA, who is the authority conducting the election. And the voting opens on the 19th morning. 19th morning, 9 o'clock voting opens. You'll also get your password on 19th morning. Once you get password, you can log in. Voting.
CMMI card.
फिर 9 बजे घर आ जाना तू घर जाएगा जल्दी से खाना लेके आएगा हमको जाना है टाउन 10:30 बजे पहुंचना है 10:30 टाउन पहुंचना है 9 बजे से पहले आ जाना निकल जाएंगे लोग
अब बंद हो गया सिंगापुर से
हाँ if you have opted for
you.